Good morning. So let me welcome all of you to the first panel discussion this morning as part of this HR Tech conference, part of Asia Pacific HR conference. And the first panel today is dedicated to the topic of how are we going to leverage technology to drive talent management in an organization, to drive talent development in the organization. And this is an interesting topic. Technology today is the catalyst, is all pervasive. It has kind of swept our lives through its life-changing capabilities. So, as we head into the first panel discussion, my request would be not to switch off your mobile phones. This is a technology conference, so I would not expect you to stop using technology. So use your mobile phones to send a Twitter message if you like something about something, what any panelist says. If you want to take a picture and then put it in social media, please feel free to do it. Use technology as much as you can. So the traditional advisory is switch off your mobile phones or put it on silent mode, but we would request you to use technology as much as you can as we move through this panel discussion, but also pay attention to us at the same time. So technology and talent development, an interesting topic. Over the years, technology has really impacted learning and development. So if you look at talent development or learning was restricted to classroom training in the past. And with the evolution of online training, e-learning became popular. But people always complain that e-learning is not good enough because we always need that human touch, that human interface. We need that face-to-face, interaction. We need that touch and feel experience. But then experts decided that e-learning standalone is not going to work. Then we moved through something called blended learning. And then we have the concept of flipped classroom. And today is the age of social learning or networked learning, where learning is happening through social networks. Unfortunately, that has been facilitated, enabled by technology, because organizations like ours are spread across the globe. Our workforce is there all over the globe. And if you have to really bring people together to collaborate with each other and learn, then there has to be technology which will enable that. So HR leaders like us have become facilitators of interactions. L&D practitioners like us have become facilitators of interactions. Our responsibility has been to create platforms, create environment where people can actually interact with each other and learn from each other, because the traditional training and development, stand-up classroom delivery, expecting the trainer, the subject matter expert to know everything, those concepts are going away because there's no expert who knows everything, and what an expert knows today becomes obsolete tomorrow. The knowledge that we acquired in our universities is not used by us in our job today. And the knowledge that we're going to need 5 years from now, 10 years from now does not exist today. That knowledge is going to be created. If that knowledge is going to be created over the next 5, 6, 10 years, then we need to create an environment, a structure. We need to provide a platform to our employees where employees can learn through interactions with others. So that's a change, that's a shift that you're going to see as we move forward. Another important trend that we're going to see, as Professor Dr. Shaugat Mitra very profoundly talks about, is the self-organizing system. So today, because of the Bandh, the Bangalore probably was a different day, but normally if you had to come here, you would have navigated through traffic to get here. So imagine a traffic junction in Bangalore where suddenly you find that the traffic lights have gone off. The traffic lights are not working in the signal. What would be the plight of people there? What is this going to lead to? It's going to lead to chaos, isn't it? It's going to be absolute chaos. But in the midst of this chaos, after a few minutes, you will find that people have started moving navigating through the traffic, and the traffic starts moving after some time. In spite of the chaos, after the initial mayhem out there, you would find traffic starts moving. So apparently there are some invisible traffic lights which are working and which are guiding the traffic. That's what a self-organizing system is all about. So even if you don't have traffic signals, even if you don't have cops out there, but people start moving. So that's what a self-organizing system is all about, where people will take charge of their lives. People will take charge of their learning. In learning in organizations, talent development in organization will be owned by people in a self-organizing system. So how is that going to happen? What are the different changes that we are going to see in this space? What are the best practices in the industry today? To learn all of that, we have an excellent panel with us today. And I'm going to introduce the panelists and invite them to the dais. And then we're going to have a very absorbing and interesting panel discussion. So my first panelist is Manish Sinha, who is the head HR India Motorola. I'm inviting him to the dais to occupy his chair in the dais. The next panelist is Mr. Sanjay Joshi, Regional HR Director, South and Southeast Asia for Intertech. And my next panelist is Dr. Christina Augustine, Global HR Director, Virtusa Polaris. And my fourth panelist today is Mr. Nagan Gowda, Global Head HR, Global Edge Shaft. So this is a very highly esteemed panel, and then they bring in humongous amount of experience in the HR talent development space. And the format that we would have today is we'll listen to each panelist for about 4 to 5 minutes. We would request each one of them to share their perspective. And once we listen to all of them, then we'll open it up for question and answer. And we would expect lots of questions from you. This is a very important topic, very relevant topic, and technology and HR are going to be inextricably linked with each other going forward. HR people are not just people, people in the organization. They're also going to become experts in technology. So with this small note, we will start.
Thank you, Surya. Good morning, dear colleagues. It's a pleasure to be here. Even on a Bandh day, I see half the hall full. And that talks about the spirit of HR, still alive and kicking. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Surya. It's a very interesting subject. What I'm not going to talk about is, I'm not going to tell you about theory. I'm going to share some of the experiences of what has worked for me and what has worked for us in our current company, and also bring in some experiences of my past experience with several organizations that I have worked. If you pay attention to the data that is all over the media today, or all over the papers, all over the research today, what is happening in India? There are about 65% of the Indian population is millennials, under the age of 33. And in my company, we're about 1,500 people. There are 70% of the workforce is under the age of 27. And you're dealing with this talent called millennials, and they have very different traits like you and me, which they don't have. Maybe I belong to generation X, I'm 40 plus. So these guys have a very different expectations. They are born with technology, they are shaped by technology, they live technology day in and day out. So if you bring in an intervention of development which is classroom led, God help you. Our attendance today in classroom led programs are 50%. I should feel very happy about it. Right? But what is important is technology is so invasive, technology is all over the place. And what we realized is, if we continue the traditional model, it's not going to help. So what industry is also looking at is, one of the new things that we have experimented in our organization is latest, which is gamifying the learning. So we also call it as quizifying the learning. So every week we run some special initiatives on technology, because we are a very technology intense company. We work with Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies working on cutting edge technology like 5G and WLAN development and Wi-Fi, automotive, AutoSAR and what not. So the idea is to how do you entice people to learn on a continuous basis, keep themselves abreast with technology. So we do something called gamifying learning. Second, through the gamification, we also teach leadership today. Because almost like a pilot, before getting on to the real cockpit of an aircraft, everything happens at a simulated environment. So we are looking at talent development, leadership development in a simulation mode, in a simulated mode. So that leaders, how do you take decisions? How do you take strategic direction? How do you do resource management? Everything is running in a simulated environment. And that is really, really playing a big game. And it is really making people to sit up and learn. First, gamification. Next part is, what we realized is, there is a power of social media. And I'm sure we were talking to the panel members, there are a lot of technology people are using. Maybe you open up all your intranet systems through in a simulated environment like Facebook, but you know what we have done? We have built in something called a knowledge management framework, where we implement a model called GALIS, Get, Acquire, Learn, Innovate and Share. These 5 aspects, everybody has to participate in the organization, and participate not only in terms of learning, but stand up and deliver classroom sessions for people in your own way. If you are a community of say 5G interested people, 10 of you come together, learn something together, it's voluntary. The learning today is voluntary. It's more of self-led rather than PMS-led, rather than training need identification led, because training need identification has to be real time. If we wait for the appraisal to happen end of the year and identify training, probably we are missing the bus. So what we are doing is we are enticing people to learn through knowledge management framework, and which is really powerful. Today, those voluntary community sessions are running full house. It happens almost every week. There are 3-4 sessions, and they're really, really doing extremely well. The third aspect that we are looking at is where people have to go something called solo-mo. The learning in a solo-mo mode. Learning through social, because everything that you can learn. Today, I open up my Twitter account at 5 in the morning, I get to learn a lot. So through learning, social learning is very, very important, and all people come together because they meet different people, and you have to learn in a localized manner as well. You cannot learn something which is all over the place and then you cannot go, because we want people to focus. Localized, specific to your project, specific to your domain, please learn. And of course mobile. So you learn through mobile. So solo-mo is one, knowledge management is one, and then we work on a gamification of learning models, and these things are really, really helping significantly to improve the engagement of the talent in the HR space. And that was a challenge a few years ago where people would not come, but today we are in a situation where people are looking forward to sessions. People are looking forward to learning. Simple things like today, what we have is we have 4 ways of communicating to our people. One of the ways we realized when we did a health checkup last year was to check the health of the organization. People were obese, people were hypertensive and all of that. So we started an initiative called Wellness Initiative in the organization. Every day you get an emailer, and you have to learn something every day. It is as simple as using an email or using an app to learn something new every day. So that, I think, is a way forward, and that is what is working for us, and that is what I believe will work for everybody. So with that point, and I would be happy to take questions at the end of the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nagan. I think you spoke very well, talked about gamification. And also I think interesting takeaway is, I think what Nagan mentioned, today TNI is not driven by the managers, it's driven by the people themselves. So that's a very important perspective. Now Chris, would you say some of your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Surya. So, very good morning to all of you. I'm glad that we are part of panel 1, because we could engage you first the morning on what exactly technology can do. Couple of things, what happens today, what I want to tell you is it's not about, years back we were thinking what makes it, whether the big companies can chew the small. Sorry, it's not that. It's not the big or the small. It's all about how fast you are. The fast can chew the small, the slow. So the question comes to whether the digital learner, whether he or she is fast. Whatever we are doing here, are you doing fast? So one of the things that come to our mind is, first thing is, the competence of being fast. So why do we say that? Because your capacity for an average individual to consume, chew off around 10,800 words. You can easily. If you're not doing it, you're doing it elsewhere. The pipe is, channelizing the water somewhere. By design, you can chew 10,800 words. And this is just beyond the baseline information. So if this is the capacity of our people, how are we leveraging it? And he very well said that it's all about the onus. It's now no more where we had 70-20-10. It's no more about that. It's now 100% with the individual. Now 100% with the individual, I would say we went in which is the Polaris, what has worked for us. Maybe a couple of pointers I just thought I can tell you. One of the things when we want to know being a digital learner, as all of you know, as he very well said, it's about being social. It's also about being mobile, and also how you have your analytics spiel around it, and then having your cloud part of it. So it's not just your automation, it's not just about your SaaS element, but how are we incorporating this? Then what we found is we have 80% millennials with us, but I have a distribution of workforce with baby boomers, and I have across geography, and I have regulation issues, I have cyber security issues. Yes, I have a very awesome technology in place. Let me just tell you, I come from an IT background, so we have, name it, we have the best of technologies in-house. So everything, the Mercedes is ready. But then when we look back and see, is my people mature enough to do that? Is my so-called faculty or teachers or tutors, how far is their competence? Because you have people in the market, they have the awesome capacity of being the learner, but are they digital learner? When I say the digital learner, that's when we just thought we should do a diagnostic to check on, to see the health of the digital maturity. So one of the things what we did is to see whether are you really mature enough to go in this direction, then based on that we can come up with the right level of treatment. Should I give you a surgery, should I give you an aspirin, or should I just treat you? Because I don't want to go with your preference, with your time zone and what technology works for you. So I think the digital maturity survey helped us a lot so that we can do a focused way of addressing it. So if we find the baby boomers spiel is different and the maturity level, being very focused around what level, the scope, the design of the tool, the technology of the tool gave us a lot of leeway to decide on that. The third element I just want to tell you is one of the things what we found is a mandate in our company is all about role-based training. If I want my entire level of associates to move from one band to another, they cannot move on unless they complete their role-based training. This is part of their design, part of the entire function. So that's something we thought it's like, unless we address that, we would not be able to move forward. So we thought we should make this more digital. That's the first element which we worked on. And I would tell you, because that would give us the quick ROI impact on, because my RBTs are straight away connected to that. So that is one of the things which we could make a lot of effort around. Third element is our unstructured data. We started understanding now people no more, it's the onus is with the individual. So social learning has become the way. My Pega associates started communicating with each other, and there is always feel for them to have their own hubs and have their own communities, even within the companies and outside the connected to our Yammer page. So what happens is the unstructured data exchange. Now what we did was we did a lot of conversion on that unstructured information so that we can build on appropriate interventions for them. So I'm going to stop here, and maybe if we have questions we can take up later. So thank you, Surya.
Thank you, Chris. I think she made a very interesting point. She talked about the competence of being fast. And today large organizations like an IBM or Dell or an HP, they're very large, but probably they're facing the challenge of moving swiftly. So the analogy is that of an elephant and a mosquito. Elephant cannot move fast, but it's big. And mosquito is small, but it can kind of swiftly move and pierce into the body of the elephant and then make elephant's life miserable. That's what the startups are doing to big companies today. So very interesting, perspective, Krish. Now I'll go to Sanjay, and then Sanjay, if you can talk about how technology can drive transformation in your organization.
Firstly, thanks, Surya. I think you and my co-panelists have set the tone, and good morning to all of you. I feel pride and privilege that I have been part of a generation which has seen a huge transformation. I look back, I my career with TCS, and I realized that at that time, we used to call self-empowerment. The managers would love to have that direct access rather than depending on HR for the talent. The biggest question is, how do you identify talent? What technology can do to identify that talent? And I still remember they used to come to us to ask us that, can you share with us the list of the high performers that you would like to really invest our time? And I personally feel, if I see that transformation today, it's huge. Today we are talking about line managers driving the whole show. So HR is actually an enabler. Technology is an enabler. But the line managers, they take the lead. And if I were to relate that today, how it is helping organizations is, if I were to give an example to you of Intertek, we are one of the world's leaders into quality and safety services, and we are working across 100 countries, and we have got 1,000 laboratories. About 86% of our people ensure that our customers come back to us because we are efficient on turnaround time and our efficiencies. How do you ensure that they grow across levels? How do you ensure they are trained? Like Surya rightly said, what is right to today, it will become obsolete tomorrow. The technology is so dominating. So what we did, we identified a project called Learning Management System, because we realized you cannot pull people every day from their daily routines. And this is another point which Surya made. Today's generation expects for that self-empowerment. They want to learn at their own time. They don't expect us to pull them. Even if you pull them, the experience is that learning may not be there for long. They want that learning to happen for a long period. So what we have done, across 100 countries, we identified 30 top countries, and through our HR directors of those regions, we decided that, okay, what is that content that we need to upload through our intranet so that they can take their own time, and this is related to their training need also from their seniors. So they are assigned those programs, excuse me, and they are given that time that they should finish those training programs at their convenience. And as Christina was rightly saying, they will need to do it because, see, if they want growth, the learning has to be owned by them. It is not a push factor. They have to take that initiative. Another thing which we have done using the technology is, we identified a group of those talented employees, and we realized there is a lot that we can share. We can't reach to them across the globe, so we created a group called Winning Together. And there we said, while we will share learning with you, you should also share articles, you should share your experiences. Like, we would have same challenges with our customers. Our customers may be demanding, our customers may be putting us into new challenges. Unless we don't share that across our business lines, it doesn't help. Somewhere that knowledge remains with them. So through this group, we have initiated self-initiative, and people share that knowledge and learning, which is really helping the organization, because you can't expect people to read when we want them to read. I mean, they are all occupied, they have their personal commitments, and this is where, when you empower them, they are taking their own time, maybe late hours, maybe on weekends, and they upgrade their knowledge. And there's a regular feedback, of course. You have to do the return on investment. I mean, how do you see this happening? How do you see this helping people grow across levels? So this is a journey, and we have also identified that somewhere we need to build some soft skills programs, while we have done a good job on the technical aspects. So we have in fact initiated a collection of content across countries where they have shown success stories through these programs, so that we don't reinvent the wheel. We don't waste time on again gathering that content. And believe me, it's working very well for our organization, and it's ever demanding need to help and empower your people to do much better.